everyone. I'm Deann Evans, and I'm the Managing Director for Shopify at EMEA. I'm really excited to be here today at Slush. This is one of my favorite types of audience, an audience of builders. People who don't wait for change, but use it to create something new. And at Shopify, one of the things that we know to be true is that commerce favors builders. People who turn transactions into relationships and customers into fans. And today, I'm going to talk a little bit with you about winning customers and keeping them, how to retain them. And this is especially true in an age of today where we're at, where AI is rewriting the rules of entrepreneurship and commerce. First, I'm going to set the scene. So I'm going to talk a little bit about AI's impact and the opportunity that it brings entrepreneurs. And then I'm going to talk about how AI makes entrepreneurship more common. We'll look at how you can stand out in the ever-changing world of commerce. And then finally, we'll get to the heart of it, how community and loyalty are becoming the new growth engine. And I'm going to share a loyalty playbook that is packed with practical advice and inspiration from incredible founders like Waterdrop, Gymshark, and Represent. And these founders, they're doing something incredibly unique. They are building not just customers, but true fans. So, before we dive into why loyalty matters for entrepreneurs looking to scale their businesses, let's first take a look at the state of entrepreneurship and the thing that is impacting it most, AI. So one thing that we know is that AI anxiety is real, but so is the opportunity. If you think about it, the printing press didn't kill writers, it made more writers. The internet didn't end retail, it created millions of entrepreneurs. And AI will be absolutely no different. With every wave of disruption comes a wave of creation. And right now, we've entered this new era of entrepreneurship, one not defined by resources, but by imagination. And it's never been easier to start a business. We know that, we've been hearing that all day. It's never been easier to start a business. And AI is removing a lot of the old barriers that founders faced. So founders faced barriers like complexity, technical know-how, costs, right? And that's all starting to go away. If you have an idea now, you can describe it to AI. It can help you build it. It can help you design your store. It can help you write your product descriptions. It can help you find your first customers. So this is pretty incredible. And it isn't theory, it's happening today. AI tools make it possible for anyone, anywhere, to turn an idea into a business faster than ever. And so if AI represents this new age of entrepreneurship, it's also the catalyst for everything that comes next. And we are seeing this with a lot of the founders that we work with every day and that we work with that are saying that 3 in 5 businesses are using AI technology to help their scaling and their expansion. And it's really happening across our ecosystem. We're seeing this everywhere. And if you think about kind of where we've been in the last couple decades, a lot of small business owners and a lot of entrepreneurs were worried about digital transformation, right? But those entrepreneurs and those founders are now embracing AI as a growth engine. It's not just adoption, but acceleration. And so what we know is that AI is going to disrupt, but it's also going to empower as it forces businesses to reinvent everything from how they work, to how they hire, to how they reach customers. And I want to give you a real-world example. One of the things that's amazing about my job is that I get to work with founders every day, founders that are building and scaling their businesses on Shopify. And so I want to talk about Clubhouse Skin. Clubhouse Skin is an independent UK skincare brand. And it was founded by Ben Atwood. And when Ben founded the business, he used AI to cut his launch time by 35%, which is pretty significant. And when he did that, he was able to reinvest that time into building his community and growing his brand. And that is where he focused. So if you think about it, this is really the power of AI as a force multiplier. It's not replacing the founder, but is really accelerating the founder's journey. And so we've explored how AI is unlocking these new opportunities for entrepreneurs. Now let's look at how it's reshaping commerce, right? And what it takes to stand out in this new age. And if you think about the era of agentic commerce, right? So this is now, we're at a point where AI is not only driving transactions, assisting transactions, but it's also initiating transactions. And if we think of the likes of OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, these are all Shopify partners. This is changing the game on how consumers find brands and how consumers grow with brands. So the question is no longer just who sells the best product, or who has the biggest reach. Those don't matter anymore. It's about who shows up first, who shows up more authentically, who shows up more memorably, and who shows up in a way that is the most relevant when the AI agent goes shopping on the consumer's behalf, right? This is incredibly important. But there's a twist, right? The AI agents are going to continue to get smarter, but in this time when they continue to get smarter, brand and trust are going to matter more than ever. So customers are actually going to choose. When the customer chooses, it's going to come down to who they trust. This is why winning and retaining customers through loyalty is key. This is really a new playbook for growth. And we know that consumer habits are changing, right? So retail is everywhere. We talk about this a lot. But when we looked at consumer behavior, what we're seeing and hearing from consumers is that there is a 10% increase in just 1 year of consumers who say that they are discovering products across any channel. So they're any channel. So any channel where your consumer might be is where you need to be for them to find you and for them to discover you. Any channel that feels natural to them. And we're in this world of infinite choice, right? So we've already talked about how agentic commerce is reshaping how people shop. There is going to be a world of infinite choice that is brought to your consumers. So trust and loyalty are going to be the ultimate filters. We're going to need to make sure that as the market gets flooded with options, community, credibility, and consistency cut through that noise. And so the way that we look at this is that in the age of agentic commerce, loyalty is no longer a nice to have, it's really your future growth model. You need to own your customer relationships because it's not just smart to own your customer relationships, it's also going to be survival and how you continue to grow. So we've talked a little bit about why you're going to need to build trust and how that's going to win in the era of agentic commerce. Now let's dive specifically into loyalty and community and how they can truly be built. So if you think about AI, we've talked a lot about these infinite surfaces and these infinite choices that it's actually going to surface. But what we want to talk about now is what some of the most successful brands do. So I'm going to share quite a few examples with you that on some of the Shopify brands are doing. Because what they do is they don't just have customers, they have fans, right? They have fans that advocate, fans that create, and fans that belong. And this is a difference between selling to customers and building with them. And this isn't a new idea. I think a lot of you will know the essay from Kevin Kelly. Back in 2008, he talked about the concept of 1,000 true fans. And what he said is that any brand or creator doesn't need to have millions of followers to really create and have a living. What they truly need is just 1,000 people who care. Just 1,000 people that will buy anything you do, that will consume anything that you do. And that these are the people that you can really bring along for the ride of your brand. And that's still true today. And in fact, today we think it's more important than ever, because it's really important that when you have loyalty, you have consumers that become fans, they become very loyal, and then that loyalty compounds faster than impressions ever could. So again, thinking about that old growth model of impressions, we're talking about consumer loyalty that is going to really help your business grow. And we think about this really as a loyalty ladder. So you can see here, at the bottom of the ladder, people know your brand, right? This is where they know your brand. In the middle, they turn into customers and they buy from you. But at the top, they belong to you and they build with you. And so loyalty, it's transactional, right? It starts and leads to repeat purchases. But then community, and we're going to talk more about building community. Community is emotional, and it really leads to a shared purpose, right? This is where customers stop being numbers on a dashboard. They stop being people you've acquired, and they start becoming the people who market with you and market for you. So let me give you some examples of that. And the way I kind of think about this is like it's community is commerce in motion. So the first brand I'll talk about is Gymshark. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Gymshark. It was a brand born in a Birmingham garage, right? And they started this lifting club in Solihull, just down the road from them. And that club became a place where their community gathered. It became a place where the community came together and the community lifted. And they decided to turn this into a more global, experiential community and fitness events with the lifting club. And so they started doing Lift the City in cities from LA to Manchester to New York to Miami, where their fans and their customers could come together and celebrate lifting, right? Celebrate the community, celebrate what they do together. They could meet athletes, they could take part in competitions, and they could spend time really with this community of like-minded individuals. And it's not really just a brand anymore, right? Members don't just wear the brand, but they live the brand. And so this is something that Gymshark has done globally and will continue to do. And you'll see we've got some themes here with the customer examples. I'll stick with this for a second. Represent. So another brand founded, and this one's founded in Manchester. They are a clothing and apparel brand. They also started to do something in the fitness community. The way to bring experience of the Represent brand offline, and into a running club. And so they often do these under their 247 brand, which is a sub-brand that is focused on fitness. They bring their community together. And both these examples are really ways that kind of show you the ability to take an experience that connects running, lifting, community, and tie it to fashion and tie it to the brand. And so the fans that take part in this are really fans of this brand. Again, they're helping them, they're marketing with them, they're living and breathing the brand. It's not just a product. And if you want to be able to do this, if you want to be able to really own that relationship that you have with your customer, it's incredibly important that you build your business with your own infrastructure and your own commerce infrastructure. And so if you think about it, to have your own commerce infrastructure, you own the relationship, you own your data, you own your brand, and you own your customers' trust. And this is really important. There's a lot of brands that might start out in different ways. I'll share one, World of Books. They were a brand started in 2002 in the UK. They had 3 founders. They would go around and rescue books from charity shops. And then they would sell them on marketplaces. And they ended up, I think, having thousands of catalogs. They had 37 marketplace accounts, right? But they didn't have that customer experience and that customer brand. And so rising marketplace fees, they went and created their owned infrastructure, their own brand, and their own relationship with their customers. And they're now an international brand. They scale internationally, and they have millions of books and millions of SKUs. And so what we know is that if you want to create this community and this fan, you must own the customer experience. It's absolutely essential. So as we move deeper into the agentic era, you need to make sure that you remember quite a few things. AI will recommend, right? AI will recommend. Ads will reach, but only community will retain. So you need to turn your customers into fans. You want to build belonging, not just branding. And you won't just survive this next shift, you'll actually thrive through it and you'll lead it. Okay, so now we're going to dig a little bit into the meat of it here with the loyalty playbook. So I've got 4 proven plans that we're going to talk about on how you build loyalty, what you should do, what the plays are that you should do. Because like I said before, today loyalty really is growth. It's not a nice to have. And when I talk to the founders that are building their businesses with Shopify, I hear over and over again that loyalty is incredibly important. It's one of the top things that we're talking about right now with our customers. And so we want to make sure that when you build for loyalty, you make sure that it's not built on loyalty points alone, right? This is not something that you do to drive a season of traffic. This is not something that you do you need to make sure that you're doing this to build value, emotion, connection, and long-term growth with your customers. And so I'll share some practical advice here that any founder in the room can use to look at how they can both grow loyalty and grow lifetime value with their customers. So the first play we'll talk about is membership as a moat. And when we think about membership, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach membership, but from the customer perspective, you want to make sure that you're giving them something, whether it's creating like free or paid tiers that give them some sort of access to events, access to brands, give them some sort of status, or give them some sort of reoccurring value. And this is where AI can give you an edge, right? AI can help you predict who's most likely to respond, who's most likely to want to get these offers. It can help you personalize rewards and also personalize communication. And so I'll talk a little bit about, you'll see I've got a video here I'll share in a second. I'll talk about Wild, which is a brand that started, it's actually a disruptor beauty brand. And they started focused with deodorant as their first product. And if you think about deodorant, this is something that is normally bought in a supermarket, right? It's not something that's bought online. And so when they launched with subscriptions from the beginning. And they offered, with part of the subscriptions and part of the membership to their program, they offered a 20% discount every time someone bought. So every time they had a reoccurring purchase, they offered a 20% discount. And this is something that, again, this is a category where people are normally traditionally buying in the supermarket, but they're actually now having nearly 50% of their online consumers part of the subscription value. So I'll play this.
The results have been fantastic with Shopify. Have an 8% conversion rate on site, which is very high in industry. Being able to disrupt as a business because we haven't had to focus on the technical side as much because Shopify have done that for us.
And Wild, they're an ethical beauty brand, and they started with deodorant, but they've now gone out into a lot of different and new categories. So play 2, and we talked a little bit about this, unify your commerce. So we know that shoppers are moving between channels all the time, right? This is happening consistently all the time. And what happens if you don't have your systems connected? You end up having a siloed experience for your consumer. We can see a lot of times where shoppers receive repetitive or contradictory offers, which is just incredibly poor consumer experience. And so let me give you another real-world example here. So for those of you that don't know this brand, Waterdrop is an Austrian-born brand. They're on a mission, again, mission community. They are on a mission to reduce plastic waste and to get people to drink more water. Seems quite simple, but if you haven't ever tried it, they've invented these little cubes that you drop in water. They have vitamins in them, they have minerals in them, and flavoring. And so they make water drinking a better experience. And so this business is actually scaled incredibly fast. They're doing incredibly well. But on their way to scaling, they hit an issue, right? They put a ceiling on their growth because they didn't have all their systems and their customer information all unified under one roof. And so this is something that they shifted and changed so they could start to look at their customers holistically in-store, online, again, this retail everywhere type idea, and also make sure that they're creating the right value for their community. And so they've now scaled quite significantly. So Waterdrop is now in 30 plus countries. They've got over 3 million customers online, 40 retail stores, and had over 140 million euros of turnover in 2024. So this is a significant business that's scaled, and they really needed to make sure that they had that unification. And with that, they've launched new markets, launched internationally, launched retail. And so making sure that you have that is incredibly important. You want to make sure that you don't build a ceiling over your growth. And then play 3, promote shared values. I think this one is incredibly important. We've talked a lot about this kind of building fans, building community, and really making sure that your business promotes the values, because again, like I said at the beginning, loyalty isn't just about rewards, it's about resonance. It's about having that connection with the brand. And so, what we know is that a lot of consumers buy from brands that stand for something. This is something that we're seeing continue to grow, and something that we hear more and more from consumers is that they buy from brands that have shared values. I'll go with a couple examples again. So Finisterre. Finisterre is a brand that is based on ocean protection. So the founder is a surfer. The clothes, everything is for this outdoor lifestyle, this kind of surfing lifestyle. And Finisterre is doing quite a few things that are unique. So they have a passion about reducing waste, so they have a recycling program for their clothes, they have a reuse program for their clothes, they have a repair program for their clothes, and this is something that's bringing their community together, and people will buy from the brand because they have shared values on this. We're coming up to Black Friday next week, so any of you that are in retail will probably be preparing for that. And so they do something pretty interesting around Black Friday. They match donations, so they don't actually offer any discounts whatsoever. They don't use it as a discounting cycle, but they use it as a time to create community engagement. They use it as a time to find new customers. So during the Black Friday time, they will go in and they will match any spend that's done by a customer with selected charities. So again, this is about the ability to really kind of co-create with your community, and the ability to do something that really resonates. And again, it's also a great way when you find those new customers to bring them into that being that fan and that ongoing relationship with the shared values. Sticking with the ocean theme, there's also Ocean Mata. Ocean Mata was founded by a 21-year-old founder who was surfing in Sri Lanka and saw all of the waste around plastic. And so they wanted to start something to really help with pulling plastic out of the ocean. And so what they've done is they have designed biodegradable phone cases, right? So these are something where there is a lot of plastic used. So biodegradable phone cases, and for every case that's bought, they pull 1 kilogram of plastic waste out of the ocean. And so again, they're really aligning their values with their customers. And they also have a lot of different things that they do within their loyalty program. Customers can vote on and pick designs, right? It's things that share the mission and again, go beyond just points. So the key takeaway here really is bring your shared values to the forefront with your consumers. Make your values real in your product. Again, customers don't just want to buy product, they want to buy something, right? Invite your community in and scale trust. And that's really how you develop purpose-driven loyalty, which is something that, again, we're seeing so many brands have a success with. And play 4, conversational commerce. So this is really about how you use conversation and dialogue with chatbots, messaging apps, voice assistants, right? Both to facilitate online shopping and all of your customer interactions. Think about it as a concierge for your customer. It's a great way to collect zero-party data. And we're seeing a lot of success with this from right across Europe, from industries as diverse as auto parts and manufacturing to wellness to beauty, right? And we've seen seen is in the last 90 days, there have been thousands of conversations where they're getting 100% response rate from their customers. We're also seeing this ourselves. Shopify does this, so we have our Sidekick. And we had, in Q3 alone, and you can see that's a picture of Sidekick there, in Q3 alone, we had 8 million conversations with our merchants directly, right? So this is something that I think is an opportunity to take advantage of now, because what we see is that if you use a question really in this becomes a conversation, right? It builds trust, it builds context, and then you can use that to personalize your next sequence and your next conversation with your customer. And it's really a blend of automation and empathy, and this is where loyalty starts to deepen. And so, I think this is one that for really everyone in this room, they should start taking advantage of now. All right, so we're almost at the end here. I'm gonna take you through, I think, kind of 3 core principles. And like Shopify, we work with millions of entrepreneurs in 175 plus countries, right? So we have a lot of experience with this. And there are 3 core principles that we think about when we think about loyalty. It really is community over customers, right? How do you build that community? Because people don't just want to buy products, they want to belong. They want to build identity, not just transactions. So you want to give them community. You want to give them community because it's magnetic, right? Loyalty is a product. Loyalty is more than just discounts. It's more than just points. It needs to deliver value. Treat loyalty as something you build, right? Make loyalty something you build, not something you offer. Make it experiential, make it personal, and make it data-driven. And then finally, you want to make sure that you have connection through brand ambassadors, and you have connection through conversation. This is an opportunity for you to really kind of bring in authentic voices. And we talked a lot about AI. This is an opportunity from an authentic voice perspective for you to blend that with AI-driven dialogue. Because look, when brands bring humanity, right? We have brands, they bring humanity, but AI can bring you the scale. So when your brand engages in this type of real voice and listens in real time, it turns moments into relationships. So I want to thank you all. I know that was a lot to share. Hopefully you got some great tips. I'll leave you with anything. Just think now, this is a time you need to build. You need to build with courage, not caution, right? And make sure that you're using the tools of this new era. AI, community, creativity, to make sure that you build something that lasts. Thank you very much.